What's going on, everyone? Today we are taking a look at the Bandit Pacer, which is a commuter e-bike. Taking a look at the specs, this has a 500 watt motor with 65 Newton meters of torque, a 48 volt 14.5 amp hour battery, 26 by 2.35 inch tires, a 7-speed Shimano shifter, mechanical disc brakes, and a front fork suspension. Assembly was pretty straightforward and easy to do, so I will not be covering that in this video. If you would like to see how this bike is assembled, I've attached a link to the official Bandit assembly video in the description below. So taking a look at the bike itself, I love the overall simple and clean design of this bike. This one is in dark gray, which I've always preferred over black as it looks similar, but overall just has a little more character. Besides gray, this bike also comes in light green as well. Alright, so we're going to start off with the most unique feature of this bike, which is the screen. It's definitely one of the best screens I've seen on an e-bike, as it has very good resolution and contrast as well. Even the graphics are very well done and overall makes this bike feel more expensive and modern. This screen also has a few other unique features as well. So coming into the settings, you can actually set this bike to prioritize torque or speed. So if you just want to go fast, you'll set it to speed, but if you want to ride in a hilly area, then you'll set it to torque, so it'll power through hills a lot more easier. This is a very cool and useful feature and not something I have seen on other e-bikes. Lastly, here on the screen, you also have two modes of security. You can either set a password to unlock the bike, or you can use an NFC card to unlock it as well. So when you first turn on the bike, you'll see the screen here, and all you have to do is tap the included NFC card to the screen, and that will unlock the bike. Again, very cool and not something I have seen on other e-bikes. So coming to the front, you do have a built-in headlight. It does look like a more basic one, but it should be more than enough to give you good visibility. Looking at the battery, this one does mount from the top, which is the best way that I prefer. When it's mounted from the bottom, sometimes it can be a little tricky if the front tire is too close, but from the top, it's just a lot easier thanks to all the space that you have. Not only that, but you also don't have to crouch as much, which is something I appreciate as I'm getting older. Coming to the back, this bike does have an integrated tail light, which lights up when you brake as well. Lastly, you get a rear rack, which has a nice carrying capacity of 55 pounds. As expected, very easy bike to pedal. This is very common with all commuter e-bikes, and this is why they're my favorite e-bikes to ride. There's just very little rolling resistance. There's no drag when you pedal. So a lot of times when I'm on these commuter e-bikes, I don't even turn on the motor. I just ride it for a bit like a regular bike. I mean, it is like maybe 10-20% harder than a regular bike, but it's a good way to get a good workout at the beginning of your ride. And then when you get tired, you want to take it easy, you just go ahead and switch that on and you can go ahead and relax. I'm very positive this font they use on the screen came from like a mobile app. I think I played a game with my son, like Angry Birds or something, where the font looks very similar to this. So every time I see the screen, it kind of reminds me of a mobile app game. I mean, it looks good, don't get me wrong, but because I know that font from somewhere, it's all I can think of. But this is definitely a very different looking screen, very unique. A lot of these bikes share screens, but this one actually looks like it was designed for this bike. Their Bandit logo actually has these little stripes right here. So this kind of like has their logo on it as well. Very cool, definitely makes the bike look a lot better, a lot more modern than other bikes as well. We're on level assist 1, which is what they call eco mode. Let's go ahead and switch it up a bit. So on pedal assist 1 eco mode, looks like we're getting about 10.5 miles per hour. Let's go ahead and switch it up to level assist 2. All right, so I definitely have to adjust the derailleur. I hear a bunch of clicking and clacking coming from back there. All right, so it looks like gear 5 is okay. So pedal assist 2, 12.4 miles per hour. Now we're on level assist 3, which switched to normal. So that's a little cool, a little different. So level 3, 15.5 miles per hour, we'll say. Switch it up to level 4. Definitely nice and smooth. I just finished reviewing another bike that kind of just threw all the power at you at once, and it was kind of jerky and not really refined, but this one is nice and gradual, which I prefer as it doesn't catch you off guard. Pedal assist 4. Looks like about 18 miles per hour. I'm definitely starting the ghost pedal, so let me go ahead and shift it up to 7. Yeah, 18.5-ish. Now that we're on 7, it's going to about 19. All right, so now we're in sport mode, which is assist number 5. A little more torque, but still nice and smooth. Definitely not much resistance though. I feel like I'm starting to lose traction. I'm not really connected with the bike. If I kind of push it, I can pedal, but if I try to pedal casually, I'm kind of just floating and doing nothing. So it looks like number 5, 22 miles per hour. Let me gun it, see how much faster we can get it. Yeah, it's not going past that 22.3. Oh, there's a number 6, all right. Most bikes stop at 5, so I thought that was the top, but now we're on number 6. Definitely losing resistance, ghost pedaling at this point. 25, 26, 27. A little more room and I probably could have reached 28, which is pretty good considering this is only a 500 watt e-bike. Just know that all these motors are not made the same, because a lot of bikes nowadays always love saying 750 watts, 750 watts. When you ride that bike, it'll be slow, so slow and draggy. Then you got bikes like this that are more honest and actually say, okay, it's a 500 watt. And then this 500 watt will perform better than a lot of those so-called 750 watts. So never buy a bike based off the specifications. Definitely go to YouTube, see some real world tests, how they actually perform, because it's the same with like, I'm into home theater, it's the same thing. People like to overrate their equipment and say it's a, a 3,000 watt speaker, and then you get it and it sounds like garbage. So definitely do your research and don't always go based off of what manufacturers claim. But this feels like a pretty good, legit 500 watt though, and like I said, it definitely performs better than a lot of bikes that say 750 watts. All right, let's try throttle only. While we're waiting for this to speed up, I gotta say, I don't like these handlebars. I've never been a fan of these swoop back handlebars. I'm a little taller, so for me, this feels a little crunched up. I have them all the way forward, as you can see. You can adjust it more up or more forward. But this just feels a little like, I don't know, I just don't like how it feels. Turning on this, I don't feel very confident. It just feels, I don't like the kind of control it has. I'm just not a fan. I mean, if you like these bars, there's nothing wrong with them. But personally, I just prefer a more straight bar. A little bit of a curve is okay, but I don't want it like this all the way swoop back. So it looks like on throttle only, we are topping out at 20. I'm assuming this bike is locked there because, as I said earlier, we were able to get 28 with pedal assist. But 20 is fairly usual for a 500 watt bike. All right, so turns out this entire time I had it on torque mode. So let's go ahead and switch it to speed mode and see if anything actually changes. So that's something very cool. This is the first time I've seen that on any bike. There's usually never a mode that you could change from torque to speed. It's almost like a car tuning. If you're into cars, you could tune cars to have a faster mode, a slower mode. This is kind of like that. So this is the first time I've seen a kind of two tunes for the bike. All right, so speed mode, you're definitely still locked in at 20 miles per hour on throttle. I know it has to go faster than that, but they probably just locked it to comply with the rules of not going faster than 20 miles per hour on throttle, because legally you're not supposed to. So let's go ahead. Yeah, it's definitely a little faster. I mean, okay, you know what? It's definitely picking up a lot faster compared to before. On torque mode, it's a little more slow and gradual. On speed mode, it's a little more speed forward, like it says. Yeah, I'm running out of runway and I'm ghost pedaling, so I don't think we're gonna get any faster than we did last time. But right there, I was able to get 25. Seat on this bike, very comfortable. I've tried some bikes that have very hard seats. Some of them have soft seats, but a little too soft, a little mushy, not very comfortable to ride on. But this one, it's a good medium. Brakes seem to be working really well. Let me go ahead and speed up a little more. See how easy we can lock up these brakes. They should work well because they are hydraulic brakes. So let's see. Oh, that was very good. This Usually I get it to skid a little bit, just barely. This one it skidded and I started fishtailing in the back, so it locked that up. No problem at all. I think I hammered on that a little too hard actually, but definitely great brakes. Nice and smooth when you need them to, but you slam on them, they're really gonna slam with you as well. Yeah, overall, this feels like a very well-made bike, especially when you consider the price. This is competing with bikes that easily cost $500–600 more from famous name brands. And I think they told me they're thinking about dropping the price another $100, which is gonna make it even cheaper. I don't want to say what the price is because I don't remember off the top of my head, but you can click on the link and whatever that says, they're thinking about dropping it another $100 on top of that. So even without that extra $100, this is still a great bike. This price range, you usually get mechanical brakes, so maybe a 11 amp hour battery or something. This has a 15 amp hour battery. One of my bikes that I've had for the longest, which was my first e-bike that I rode a lot, I know on that bike had a 14 amp hour battery, and I was able to get 30 to 40 miles regularly with, you know, cruising speeds about 13 to 16 miles per hour. So you probably get about 5 to 10 more than that bike. Then if you're gunning it, you probably get about 15 to 20, depending if you're going full throttle the entire time. But that applies to any bike. If you're just hammering it full throttle, you're gonna die pretty quick unless you have one of these bikes that have a 30 or 40 amp hour battery. But yeah, overall, this is definitely a great bike. I have no real complaints about it. Front suspension definitely works really well. When you brake, you feel it absorb. I went over some bumpy areas back there in another street, and it definitely soaked them up pretty good. Nice cable management up here. You see, you got the whole thing wrapping it. A lot of bikes just let that hang out and looks like spaghetti garbage, but that's when they went the extra mile and gave you a nice fabric wrap on there. Yeah, so if you're looking for a good commuter e-bike, this is definitely a very good option to look at. And once again, when you consider the price, and then this also has that NFC chip, the built-in passwords to unlock the bike. This is a lot of stuff that even bikes that cost way more than this bike don't generally include. So very good value. They have another bike coming out as well from Bandit Bikes. I think it has like a 35 or 40 amp hour battery, so e-moped. That's definitely one I'm looking forward to review. Hopefully they send that one over. But as for this one, definitely a good bike. So yeah, overall, it's definitely a solid bike. So if you're looking for a good commuter bike, definitely take a look at this one here from Bandit Bikes. All right, well, that about wraps up this video. As usual, if you have any questions at all, feel free to drop me a comment. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.